But I'm going to put this here in the chat. The chat is your way to communicate with me while we're doing this, since I can't see you. But you can type questions or anything in the chat, and I will see them and get to them. And this is a great chance and opportunity for you to do that. Please, please do not pay for this. But the advantage of subscribing, you only will need to do it the one time because it's good for 30 days, and that will cover our entire class. It's much easier for me to track who's here. I can just download a list of that, and it also really minimizes your ads. So I don't know about you, but I can't stand having ads interrupt things, and it will probably keep it to where it's just the one in the beginning and then it will be gone. So you can do that at any time, and if it's a pain or you can't figure it out, don't stress out about it. And if you lose me or you have to go, you can always watch this later on as well. It will be recorded and available for you on Twitch, and I'll make a link and post it in our class, which I will show you in a little bit. So what I want to do tonight, and we'll have a couple of these streams, and thank you for those of you who are on here with me. That's fantastic. What I'll do tonight is I'm going to go over the website a little bit, the syllabus, show you the ebook site, give you some of the reminders for this week, and then of course I'll give you that Twitch extra credit question that you get for being on here with me as well. So tonight will be a little longer than the other streams that we'll have in the following weeks, just because I want to make sure you feel good about the organization and layout. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will answer them for you. I'll either answer them verbally or I'll type them in the chat and make sure I get to all of your questions. My cats keep joining me here, so we almost had a cat. I can't guarantee that they won't come back. But let me go ahead and take you over to Canvas, and again we'll go through everything a little bit, and if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in and ask. But I hope everyone is doing well, enjoying your summer. I was at Legoland this morning, so it's definitely nice to be home, and it's nice. It's nice that it's summer. I'm enjoying that. Even though we're meeting online, is definitely convenient, and we can do that from anywhere. So let's see. How much of the test is based solely on the book? Can I just follow along in the lectures and be fine? I'm going to go over that a little bit, but you will need to read the textbook in order to do well on the exam. So I'll highlight that a little bit when we talk about the exam, but I would say a good chunk of it is from the chapters. The lectures that I give you kind of supplement your reading, so make sure that you're also reading the ebook chapters. And again, I will go over that a little bit when we get to talking about the exam. So I'm glad you asked. So let's go over to Canvas together here, and hopefully at this point a lot of you have logged in, taken that mandatory orientation quiz, which was due by last night. As a quick side note, if you have not taken that quiz, make sure that you email me right now or as soon as this is over, as I will be dropping anyone who has not taken that test or has not contacted me tonight before the census deadline. So make sure that you do email me or reach out to me right after this. If you haven't done that already, I've already uploaded all of your scores for that, and I'll show you where you can find all of that and everything in just a minute as well. So this is our Canvas page, and if you can make it here, you should be in really good shape. Everything is linked from here, and it's mainly this page and then the ebook page, which I'll go over in a little bit with you. But if you can get here, it's linked out here to the ebook site. The announcements are here. A lot of the materials are here. So if you can make it to here, you should be in great shape. And again, most of you have already done the orientation lecture and quiz. And so hopefully everything seems pretty clear, but I'll go over it right now. So the course is organized by weeks. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, very quick, short class since it's summer. So when you are ready to begin week 1, you'll just click on week number 1 and it will take you to all of those materials. You can click on the link below it or the picture and it will take you there. But hopefully what you've all done already is you've done this mandatory orientation lecture. And so just to pull that up really quickly, I gave you a bunch of information kind of about how the class is organized, a little introduction to myself, some help links and computer and technology information. So some of the things that you should have done by now: reading through the syllabus, doing the mandatory orientation quiz, finding me on YouTube and Twitch. I do a lot of videos. Since we're not meeting in person, I try to use a lot of social media and a lot of kind of interactive things like this in order to connect and touch base with all of you so that you know I'm a real person and that I'm here for you. So I think finding me on these two channels definitely will make your life easier, as I do post a lot of stuff on there and sometimes random things as well. But for the most part, it's things related to our course. And then I have some information here if you were struggling to figure out Twitch. I know it's kind of a different platform and a lot of people use Zoom, but I found that Twitch is really popular and current. I know we're not playing video games, sadly, but I do think it's a great platform. And other than the ads, I think it's pretty user-friendly. On the second page here, you'll notice there are 5 little tabs. I went a little bit, random is good too. I went over a little bit about how the class will be structured. Basically, we have 4 weeks, and each week you'll complete a very similar format of materials just to keep it consistent and easy. So each week you'll be reading 4 chapters in the ebook, and I'll go over where that is and how to do that in a little bit. You'll read the lectures and the videos that I have for you for the week. You'll do 2 weekly discussions, and then you'll take an exam. So every single week you'll follow that same format of reading 4 chapters in the book, reading the 4 lectures and watching the videos for those, participating in 2 discussions, and then taking 1 online exam. In addition to that, in the final week, you will do a short closing assignment. So instead of having a cumulative final, you will be writing a little bit of a paper, and that's something that you'll do the last week of the semester, or the short summer session, we can say that instead. Other than that, a few other things. I give you some information about myself in case you wanted to know a little bit more about me. I have some information here. And then the next page is all computer and internet stuff, so some things that might be really helpful for you in terms of computer requirements and internet settings. And then on the last page, some information about help. So if you're struggling with some things related to Canvas, I have the Canvas support information, trouble with the ebook or anything on the ebook site. Here's an email that's really helpful for that. There's some information here about the IT team at Moore Park College. And then, of course, you can always email me if you have any other questions, and I'd be happy to help you out. So that's the mandatory orientation lecture, which hopefully all of you have done at this point. Again, if you haven't, make sure that you do email me at the end of the night tonight so that I don't drop you from the course. If we go back to modules, there's a little bit of information up here, including the syllabus, a rubric for the discussions, and some video resources. Let's take a look at the syllabus a little bit together. Okay, so at the top here, sorry, I'm being spoken to. A little bit at the top here of information on my name and my office number. Since we're doing everything in terms of being online, I'm not in my office, so the best way to get a hold of me is going to be by email. I check my email pretty consistently, so if you email me, I'll get back to you very quickly. There's some information here about how to get a hold of the department chair or the dean or the administrative assistant for our department. Some course objectives and description that I'm going to let you read over a little bit on your own. At this point, you should have purchased the required textbook, so you needed the book in order to do the mandatory orientation quiz and lecture. So here was the information about the book, and again, I'll show you where the ebook site is and go over that a little bit in a moment. Some computer and system requirements. All of this stuff is things that I think you can kind of look over on your own. I'm very committed to this being an inclusive learning environment. I want everyone in here to feel safe and feel like you can talk to me and talk to each other. So please try to be respectful in the discussions and in the chat for these live streams as well. And it's so sad that we're not in person. I know this is so different, but we're hopefully almost done with kind of our online DE COVID times. Though, I do teach a lot of online classes even before COVID. So I love this platform, and it's definitely convenient for summer. A little bit about late work and exam makeups. I'm really, really strict on the deadlines, and I have that right here in the syllabus, that we have a weekly deadline for everything in this course. So everything is organized by weeks, and when that weekly deadline passes, it's unfortunately too late for you to turn anything in. So really important that you're planning ahead, because this class is so short. There is a lot that you need to do each week. So definitely pace yourself and make sure you're planning for that. If there is any kind of an emergency, you have to contact me before the weekly deadline for me to consider any kind of extension. So really important that if something comes up Friday, Saturday, even Sunday, that you're emailing me before the weekly deadline. If you email me Monday morning, even if it's like 12:03 a.m. on Monday morning, and unfortunately will be too late. So just make sure that if something does come up, that you reach out to me early. And in those cases, I'm often willing to work with you. But if you contact me after the deadline has passed, it will unfortunately be too late to turn things in. So try and plan ahead, work ahead throughout the week, and try not to wait to the last moment whenever possible. Make sure that you're giving me all your own unique and creative, beautiful work rather than any kind of copying or plagiarizing. We don't have to worry about some of these other things since we're not in person. Oh, look, a cat. This is my cat, Rolly. I'm like, that's the other benefit of teaching at home, right? We get to see cats. This is my beautiful, tiny little cat, Rolly. Let's see if we can get back. He'll probably come back, but anyway, distracted by cats. Here are some of the things that are graded for the semester, right? He's so cute. I love him. So we have our orientation, right? The mandatory orientation quiz, which you took, which is worth 10 points. The bulk of your grade, though, is based around the weekly discussions. So you'll have 2 discussions every week that you'll complete, and those are worth up to 15 points. There's a short closing assignment, right, that you'll do. A lot of you are like, Kitty, right? He's definitely bigger than a Chihuahua. He's like a good 30 pounds or so. Such a good cat, right? Though he's now playing with my computer in the background. There are also 4 exams that you'll take as part of this course. So the most of your grade is made up from the discussions and the exams. So make sure that you're really putting a lot of time into both of those, and I'll go over them a little bit for you as well as we progress through. You can see the breakdown of points right here for your grade. Everything is just point based, so you can keep track of your score on Canvas and see where you fall. If you have a memo with access, make sure you get that to me as soon as you can, and I'd be happy to go ahead and get those accommodations set up for you. And again, a little bit more information if you need some tech support. Here's the information for phone numbers for the campus, and then I gave you the information unique to our class in the Canvas show. Okay, uh-oh. Right, somebody was talking about their dryer. Okay, and then a little bit more important college information, the student services syllabus, and then some important dates. And the last thing on here is the schedule. So you can see everything is laid out here week by week. So week 1, we'll be doing those 4 chapters that we talked about, 2 discussions and an exam. Week 2, again, 4 chapters, 2 discussions and an exam. Very similar, consistent format to hopefully keep it easy for you to remember. And I'll remind you of this a million times as we get closer, but our class does end on a Friday. So every week is Monday to Sunday, except the last week, which is Monday to Friday. And I hate that the college did that, but I have no control over it. So I'll remind you several times as we get a little bit closer. So this is something that you might want to hold on to. It's just a really nice quick snapshot of everything that we have going on for this semester, how to get a hold of me, the items for your grades, all of that kind of stuff. So definitely, make sure that you look over the syllabus if you haven't already. And you can find that under the modules link right here. It's at the very, very top. But any questions at all about the syllabus, the way that the class is organized, any of that kind of stuff, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. But any questions at all so far? I'll wait just a moment because you're usually about 30 seconds behind me. I'm going to wait just a minute just to see if anyone has any questions at all so far. It's not too bad. We have about 25 out of 40 of you in here, so that's fantastic. Thank you again for those of you who are able to make it to this live. And if you ever aren't able to make it live, again, you can watch it later on Twitch, or I'll often post a link on here as well. So we'll be streaming once a week. So I have the schedule on the calendar. So if you click on the calendar, it will go over that schedule with you. So we can do that really quickly together. So here's today, the 14th, and then next Wednesday at 8. And then this one is on Thursday, the 29th, and then there's one more on Wednesday, the 4th, during that last week. So the calendar will give you those four. They're also in the announcements, but it'll be once a week. So I'll always remind you when the next one is. The next one will be next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. And then I have this one on a Thursday. My kids are doing a lot of softball and soccer, so I had to make a little shift here. But otherwise, they'll be on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. The exams are mainly multiple choice. I'll get to the exams in a couple minutes. I know exams always make everyone anxious. I promise I'll talk a little bit more about the tests and the test format. Physiological psychology and biological psychology are, in essence, the same thing, looking at physical factors influencing behavior and mental processes. So yes, like you could say, they are pretty much the same thing, or same subfields. All right, so let's go back to our class here. Oops, I left and now it didn't want me to go back. Hold on one second. Thank you for those of you asking questions. That's perfect. It gives me something to answer. I love it. So again, if we go back to modules, everything can be found under modules here. So we went over the syllabus. Here's some more information about discussions and so on. I have made a little video overview of our course, so if you're still feeling a little bit confused about how things are organized, this will probably be really, really helpful for you. And then there's some help in campus resources, some information about how to set your Canvas notifications so that you get all of my announcements and emails, how to find your grades and feedback in Canvas, some more technology assistance, student services, psych major information. So all sorts of resources for you right here, along with some frequently asked questions. So if you're struggling or have a question, chances are I address it in here or the syllabus. Though again, you're always welcome to email me. That's totally fine, and I'd be happy to help you. And then once you've done all that, then everything is organized by week. So when you get to week 1, you'll see there's chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's a lecture and a video for every single chapter. Summer session number 2 is confusing on how to do it. How to do, I'm not sure what you are talking about, Susanna. How to do summer session number 2. Yeah, you can go ahead and email me if you want, or what you can do at the very end, I'll leave some time for questions if you want to ask me a little bit more about it at that point. That would be totally fine. So for each week, remember we have 4 chapters, 2 discussions, and an exam. And so here are the lectures and the videos that I've made for you. And then you should also be reading on the ebook site. And so at this point, you've been to the ebook site to take that orientation, and hopefully you bookmarked it. Worst case, if you did not, on the home page for our course, I did make a quick link for you right here. But our ebook site looks like this. And if you notice, I did write the ebook, so it is very kind of customized to our course. So for this, what you're doing, I made a video here if you want a little bit more information. But at the top, there's a little welcome page, which you should follow on that first time. And then chapters is where you will find the ebook. So what I would recommend is that you are reading these chapters maybe before you do the lectures, but it's totally up to you what order you want to complete that in. And when you click on chapters, you'll see it brings up a list of them here. So if you were to click on chapter number 1, You can skip to different sections if you click on the little tabs right here. Otherwise, you can scroll through and read this. This is a traditional chapter in a book. You'll notice some of the things are highlighted, and those are key terms that you can highlight over, and it'll give you a definition. There are images, of course. There's some little boxes and pictures everywhere. My cat is playing with my computer, and it's a touch screen. Stop it, really. Okay, if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see some charts in here. There are often links out to web pages where you can find information. There's some information like apply it boxes on here that are hopefully relevant to connecting this to materials in your life. There's some in pop culture links, and then you can also find some stuff at the end related to application. Ow. Cat is attacking me. Okay, but this is the first chapter, so make sure that you're reading this, and this will give you all of the information that you need to then fill in the gaps from the lectures and everything as well. So that's at the top here where it says chapters. And then the exams are also right here. This is where you took that mandatory orientation quiz. This is where you'll take the exams when you get to them this week. So the instructions for exams 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, and so on. So this is where you'll find all of that information. And then there's a little grade book here. You'll notice when you take the exams, it'll show up with a score right away, but that score doesn't come over to Canvas automatically. So every week, once the deadline has passed, I will take the scores and import them into Canvas. But if you want to know your scores on the exams immediately, you can find them here in this gradebook. And then those scores will be brought over to Canvas at the end of the week when I'm grading all of those materials. Right? That's a great picture of the little cat in the chat. I love it. I love it. Nope, you don't have to submit anything for the study guide. The study guide is just for your aid in studying. If you were taking the class in person with me, I do accept it for extra credit. But since you can use your notes in the book and everything on your exam, it's just for your help in preparing for the test. Okay, so this is the ebook site, and again, you'll be using this. You should be reading the chapters. This is where you'll take the exam. And then on top of reading the chapters, you'll do those weekly materials. So if you click on week number 1, chapter 1, lecture, what I've done is I've given you a little kind of written text lecture, and then I've also made a video of me lecturing to a PowerPoint. So I used to do the lectures live, but the downside to the live lectures, there's no captioning. So what I've done is I've recorded the lectures on Zoom and posted them for you. So that way you can watch them as many times as you would like. You can pause them if you need to, and they're also captioned. Now the captioning is not always perfect, so you can laugh when it's a little incorrect, but it's pretty decent from Zoom, and you can also, as I said, pause them and watch them as many times as you would like. So make sure you go through my lectures. You can listen to the audio, or you can read through them. I did read every single page in case you would rather listen to it right here on there. And they follow the same format every time. There's a summary, a beyond the book, in pop culture, key terms and review, and then application. So first page is summary. On the next page, you'll find some things that are beyond the book. Anytime I give you a video, you're going to want to watch it. Sometimes there'll be a little bit of overlap with the video lecture, but I went ahead and put it in there anyway. So any videos, watch them, links that I give you, click on them. All of these things will help you to understand the materials better. In pop culture is going to be things in popular culture that connect to what we're talking about. Lots and lots of great examples in psychology. Sometimes I'll give you little video clips for fun on here if you're interested, or just links to websites you can go to explore. The key terms in review is always going to be things that you'll find on the exam. So on this 4th tab, any terms that are right here, you'll also see them on the study guide. So these are the terms from chapter 1 that you'll need to know for the exam. And again, I'll talk more about that in just a moment. We're almost there. And the last page will be application. Now that you've read all this and you've gone through everything, how can you apply this to your life in some way? And here I have a couple of great websites that are linked out. Sometimes it'll be videos or articles, But make sure you read through all 5 tabs, watch the videos, listen to it if you would rather, and this will give you some great information in addition to the book. On top of that, as I mentioned, I did make a lecture video for every single chapter that we go through. If there weren't any video clips, I would post it on YouTube for you. Otherwise, it'll just be a Zoom link. But for example, for this one, you'll click on this, you'll go to YouTube, skip the ads, of course. So we'll wait 1 second. And then you can watch the video here of me lecturing just here on Zoom. And again, there are captions at the bottom. Whenever possible, I tried to put them on YouTube. I figure that makes it easier to watch anywhere on your phone or on any piece of technology. But make sure that you are watching these lecture videos. I do go through each one of the kind of big topics or some of the key topics for the week or for that chapter. And I made one for every single chapter. So again, read the book, read the lecture, and then watch the lecture videos. And if you're doing those 3 things, you should be in really good shape when it comes to preparing for the exams. Any other questions about any of that so far before we talk about, we have the discussions and the exams left to talk about. But any questions so far, anything about the lectures or the videos or the ebook site, anything that I've covered so far? Sorry, I know I'm kind of going through a lot, but I want to make sure that you are clear on where you can find everything and what's expected of you and all of that fun stuff. On discussion number 2, so we're going to get to the discussions right now. So I'll talk about the discussions. You can write here if you want, Susanna, what your discussion question was. Or again, you can email me. Either one is totally fine. If you want to put it on here when we finish talking about them, I'd be happy to elaborate for you. So since the discussions are your next question and are also the next thing, let's look at the discussions a little bit more. So for each week, you'll do 2 discussions. And again, these points will add up, so make sure you're spending a good amount of time on these. So for discussion number 1, for example, and these are going to be connected to topics that we've covered throughout the course of the week. So once you've done the reading and the lecture videos, you should be able to answer these pretty easily or pretty well. I also made a video at the beginning of each one of these just to give you more information. I talked about each one a little bit more, so you might try watching that video if it's helpful for you. But the first discussion, for example, what you'll do is you'll look at my questions, watch the little video that I made for you, and then when you're ready, you'll hit reply. All right, and when you reply, you're answering all of my questions, and that's your main post for the week. So you're responsible, and a lot of you have already done this already, which is great. You'll answer all of my questions, and then you'll reply to one of your peers. Now, my questions are worth up to 13 points, and your peer responses were 2 points. But those 2 points definitely add up, so you want to make sure you're doing them. But for discussion 1, for example, if you were to pretend you were a psychologist for a moment, what would you be interested in studying and why? You'll go a little bit into what you would want to know, how you would examine that topic. You're connecting this back to the chapter and showing me that you understand the materials that we've covered and you can apply them. You'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages. Are there any ethical concerns and so on? And so that's the first discussion. And you can see, as I said, a bunch of people have done this already. And when you're ready to do that, you will just hit right here, reply. And it's not a bad idea to save all of your responses just in case they get lost or Canvas has a glitch and they don't submit for some reason. If you saved your response and something happens, then we can always troubleshoot that, which is nice. So here's discussion 1. And then there's one more discussion, as I mentioned. There are 2 each week. So discussion number 2 is related to neurons and the brain. So chapter 4 or chapter 3 that you're getting to. So for this one, you'll talk a little bit about what neurons are and why they're important. You'll talk about how neurons communicate with each other, kind of describing that chain of events. And then you'll click right here to read the articles that I've given you about the 10% myth of the brain. And again, I did record myself reading these if you would rather listen to it. But you'll read the articles and then you'll answer 2 questions related to the articles. So the discussions are often going to be either like a little experiment or reading an article or watching a video and then responding to some questions about them. And again, when you're ready to do that, you'll hit reply. And then when you want to reply to your peers, you'll find a post that you want to comment on and hit reply right underneath it. So make sure that you're doing that for both discussions each week. Again, they're worth up to 15 points, so that will start to add up a little bit. So make sure that you're doing the reading and the book and the lectures before you go to answer these questions. Oh, look, I'm glad I answered your question, Susanna. That's perfect. So glad that was helpful. If something mentioned in the lecture videos, not the ebook or lectures, will those be in the exams? Yes, so the lecture videos, the ebook, and the lectures on Canvas are all fair game for the tests. So anything that I cover in either the lecture video, the lectures on Canvas, or the ebook. So all of those things you'll find questions on for the tests. Your responses don't need to be a certain number of words. No, there should be a couple of sentences. The peer response is much, much shorter. So your response to my questions, think of those almost as like little mini papers or mini essays. But your responses to your peers are typically just going to be a couple of sentences. So for example, this one right here is great, right? And then looks like not very many people have done this one yet. But yeah, just a couple of sentences is pretty appropriate for your peer response. Sure, you're welcome. Any other questions at all about the discussions before we talk about the exams? I know there are lots of exam related questions, but any other discussion questions before we move on to that last big component that you'll do every week? Wait just a moment just to see if there are any questions about the discussions. All right, if you think of anything else, of course, feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, let's move on to talk about the test. So each week you'll take one exam, and I have given you a study guide right here. So all of the exams are on the ebook site, right? So the ebook website is where you're going to find the exams. And again, it's this little link right here that says exams at the top. But what I've done is I've given you a study guide for every single test. So if you click on this right here where it says study guide number 1, it will bring up a document, and these are all of the terms that you need to know for each chapter on exam number 1. So each exam is 4 chapters, and I've given you all of the major concepts and terms that will be on the test. So once I make the exam, I just go through and write them all on here. So if it's not on the study guide, you don't need to study it, you don't need to worry about it, it won't be on the exam. On the flip side of that, if it is on here, it will be on the test. So make sure that you understand all of the terms that are on here. Again, if it's not, you can go ahead and let it go. But anything on the study guide, so these are all the terms for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4. And if it were me, and it's totally up to you, but if it were me for the first exam, I would over-prepare since you don't quite know what to expect yet. What I might do is write out or type out all of these terms, study them like you would for a traditional in-person test. The exams are open note and open book. You can use anything at your disposal when you're taking them. But if you're trying to understand the term or you're trying to look it up, you're going to run out of time. And that is a little bit purposeful. I want to make sure that you're studying and preparing. It's plenty of time if you have prepared. But if you're trying to find those definitions in the book, for each one of the questions, your time is going to run out very quickly. So what I might recommend is that you go through and make sure that you have written out the demographics of early psychologists, that you have the different subfields of psychology written out or typed out in front of you, and then you can have that as a quick, easy reference during the exam if you need to look at it. You also might consider studying. You could make flashcards. A lot of people use things like Quizlet. Any of those things would be great resources for helping you to prepare. But I think it's always better to over-prepare for the first exam since you don't quite know what to expect. I will never trick you. The questions are very straightforward, but you do need to prepare and study a little bit in order to do well on the exams. Someone asks, is there a set number of questions per exam? So most of the exams are close to like 70 or so questions. You have roughly a minute or so per question. Now some of them are true-false, and so they should be pretty quick. Most of the questions though are multiple choice or matching. So there aren't any essays, there aren't any short answer questions at all. So everything is either multiple choice, matching, or true-false. So when you're studying, you can kind of keep that in mind. But make sure you understand anything that's on here, so you're not trying to understand it when also then trying to answer the question. Okay. Someone else asks, Twitch extra credit says it's 0 points. Yes, so because it's a bonus item, it's worth 0 points, but it's technically worth 5. So if you get those 5 points, they will be added, but they're not counted toward your grade. They are a bonus item. So yes, that is, I know it's confusing. Canvas codes things in a strange way. So anything that's extra credit is actually technically worth 0 points in the way that it'll show up on Canvas. But if you earn those 5 points, they will be added on top of your regular score. A little confusing. One other thing about Canvas that's confusing, the to-do list. Everybody always emails me about the to-do list. It doesn't automatically cross them off for you. You have to do it yourself. So a couple of things that maybe Canvas could improve on to not quite be so confusing. All right, so again, anything on here, on this one exam, so exam number 1, does have 2 diagrams on the second page. This is the only exam with diagrams. After this one, there won't be a second page, but make sure that you do know how to label these. These are the exact pictures that you'll see on the exam, and I just kind of took out the numbers for you, but you can use these as practice if that's helpful for you. But make sure you prepare, study anything that's on here. You can also find this stuff if you're curious. If you remember the lectures that I just showed you a moment ago, on the 4th page of every lecture, so for example, chapter 2, the 4th page right here is always going to be the key terms for that chapter. And then I just put all of these together on the study guide. So if you want to study one chapter at a time as you're going, you could focus on these terms, or you could look at the study guide where all of the chapters are on there together. So once you're ready to take the test, once you've prepared, you're ready to go and have everything organized, you can click on this link here, or you could just go straight to the ebook site. So all of the exams are on the ebook site, and they're all housed there. So once you're on that site, you'll find the directions right here. So let's go through these a little bit, just a couple of reminders, and then I'll see if there are any other questions about the test. We're getting there. I'm sorry, a lot of talking tonight, but just to make sure you're feeling good about everything. So for each exam, you have 75 minutes to take the test. So an hour and 15 minutes. If you have a memo from Access, of course, get that to me so I can make sure you have the timing that you've been granted. But you have 75 minutes, so the moment you hit start exam, that clock will start. And you only get one attempt, so you can't pause it, you can't exit out, so just make sure that you're ready to go and you have good internet and a quiet place to take the exam before you begin. So one attempt, 75 minutes. You can use your notes and book. You can use the study guide that you hopefully have prepared. But as I mentioned a couple of times now, make sure that you have studied, that you're organized and ready to go. If you haven't studied at all, you're going to end up running out of time, or at least be very tight on time. So make sure that you are preparing a little bit. You do need to save your answers. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a moment. And the website will stop your test at the scheduled deadline. So once you begin, once it hits 75 minutes, it will stop your test. It'll save everything that you've done so far, but just make sure you're watching that clock. Try and leave yourself plenty of time. And then you'll click I am finished. The second you're done, you will have a score. So it'll pop up a score for you and tell you how you did. Just remember that it doesn't go automatically into Canvas. So that won't happen until I'm grading everything, typically on Mondays. So you won't see your score in Canvas, but you will see it right here on the ebook site if you want to see what you got correct or the questions that maybe you missed. But let's take a look. If I go back to this mandatory orientation, let me show you what that saving looks like, just so that you can be clear on it. So once you start, you'll notice right here, here's the clock at the top, so it starts counting down instantly. And here are the list of questions, and you're welcome to skip around, so you can, maybe if you don't know the answer to one, you can skip it and go to a different question and then go back. It'll show up as gray if you haven't answered it, if you skipped it, and black if you haven't done it yet. So when you go to answer a question, so for example, which of the following is not true about your instructor? Definitely this one, that I hate football. I'm a huge football fan. I can't wait. It's coming up so fast. And so once you select the answer, you hit save. And then you'll notice it turned like a gold, kind of orangish color. And that indicates that you have saved that response. The best way to contact your instructor is through email. You'll select true, save answer, and then it'll take you to the next one. And again, let's say you're like, oh, I don't know the answer to this one. I'm going to skip it so I don't run out of time. You can move on and kind of move through the test. Just make sure that before you hit I am finished and submit, that every single one of them is that orange color. If you haven't saved your answer, it's not going to count it toward your score. So when you're ready, you'll hit this I am finished, submit for a grade. It'll say, are you sure? Are you sure you're ready? And you'll hit submit anyway. And then it'll give you your score right off the bat. And I got a shameful 2 out of 10 on my own quiz. I only answered 2 in all fairness, right? But 2 out of 10, it'll tell you how long you took, and it'll show you the ones you got right and wrong. So you can see where you missed your points or how you did on the different questions. So again, just make sure that you are saving everything. A few other little tips for the exam: try not to wait until the last minute. Inevitably, when you wait till Sunday night, the power goes out, the internet goes out, something happens. So try and take it earlier in the week if you can. Again, make sure that you're studying and preparing. Make sure you have good internet and ideally a quiet place to take the test. I think those are the big things. Again, everything is very straightforward. As long as you've been reading the ebook, reading through the lectures, and watching the videos, and studying with that study guide, you should be in really good shape. I would love for you all to get A's on the test, so there's nothing there meant to trick you in any way. So as long as you're preparing, you should do really well on the exams. Again, I think they're very, very straightforward. So mainly multiple choice, matching, and true-false. Use the study guide, take them early, and remember to watch that clock, that you only get that one attempt on the exams once you start. So those are all the big things for the exam. Are there any other exam questions? Anything that anyone is still wondering about that I can answer for you while we're here? I just have maybe 1 or 2 more things before we call it a night, and I see if there are any general questions I can answer. But any other questions about the test? I know exams always cause a lot of anxiety because they're worth a lot of points. So again, over prepare, and then you can kind of dial it back or even study a little bit more if you need to for the next one. But while you're trying to figure out what to expect, always a good idea to over prepare a little bit for the first exam. Good. I'm glad it was helpful. So I can't see you all, so it's hard to know how you're doing with things. But I'm glad to hear that it was helpful for you. If you think of any other questions, feel free to put them here in the chat. Otherwise, there's one other component just to mention to you before we are done, and that is the Twitch extra credit. So you're joining me here live. If you haven't put your name in the chat, make sure that you go ahead and do that. Or you can, if you have the little icon next to your name, the little football cake, it kind of looks like a hamburger, but it is a football cake if you look at it closely, or the little crown, then it tells me that you were on here. If you don't have that, make sure that you have put your first and last name so that I can keep track of who was here with me. And then what you'll do as soon as we're done here, I'm going to give you a extra credit question and I'll show you where you answer that. It's right here. There'll be every single week that we do a stream, so every week of the 4. I'll give you an extra credit question related to either the lecture or a video, something from the week, and you can answer it for those 5 points of extra credit, and that will really add up. It gives you a great little buffer on the exams or the discussions, or take a little pressure off of the tests if you're feeling nervous about them. So I hope that you take advantage of those points. I think they're really helpful. So when in a moment, what I'll do in the chat is I'll type the extra credit question for you right here. That way you can see it, and then I'll also give it to you verbally. And then after that, you can click right here where it says Twitch extra credit number 1. And up at the top right here is where you'll submit that answer. So you'll hit start assignment right here, and you can type your response. So let me give you the question, and then I'll show you how you would answer it. So for this week, the question is related to chapter 2. So chapter 2 is all about different research methods, and one of the things that I covered is the difference between correlation and causation. And that's a really big concept in chapter 2. So that is the extra credit question for this week. So Twitch extra credit number 1. You'll see this. I am not very good here at like typing and talking apparently. So the question for you is, what is meant by the phrase correlation does not equal causation? And I'd like you to explain and give an example. So I'm going to put that prompt for you right here in the chat so that you can see it written. But the extra credit question number 1 is, what is meant by the phrase correlation does not equal causation? Explain and give an example. And so it's not due today, it's due by the end of the week. So everything for week 1 is due before Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So you have until Sunday at 11:59 p.m. for everything for week 1, and then next Sunday at 11:59 p.m. for everything for week 2, and so on. So just to keep it consistent for you. So all of the discussions in the exam and the extra credit are all due by this Sunday night. And I try to periodically grade them throughout the week. So if you do the extra credit early and get it wrong, I oftentimes will tell you you can try again if you would like to. So you're welcome to do it earlier, but you have all the way until Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So once you have your answer and you're ready to go, and that could be now or it could be later today or tomorrow or anytime this week, you'll go onto Canvas, and then you'll click on that extra credit number 1 link. And right here at the top, you'll click Start Assignment. And that will bring up this little text box down here. And this is where you will type your response. And once you've typed in your response, and you can copy and paste it from somewhere else if you typed it in a document that you wanted to save. And then you click Submit Assignment right here at the bottom. And then you get like little confetti saying, congratulations, you submitted successfully, which is kind of fun. Canvas just added that last semester. And if you needed to add later, you could click New Attempt, but it'll say right here that you submitted your response. And that's all that you need to do for the extra credit. So when you're ready to answer that under week number 1, again, you'll just click right here where it says Twitch extra credit number 1, and then you can go ahead and answer the question that I gave you about correlation versus causation. You'll also notice what'll happen when we finish this stream. Let's say that you'd really like to watch it again. You can go onto my Twitch channel and click play on the video. What I'll probably do as well, though it takes a couple of hours to download, is I'll post a YouTube link underneath right here. So if you didn't get to this live, or if you want to watch it again later, I'll probably post it on YouTube. Just it's a little easier to watch later on, and I can edit out the first like 10 minutes of starting soon. So I'll post that right here, though it might not be till tomorrow because it takes a couple of hours for it to download. So again, big reminders for the week. Make sure that you read chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the ebook page. Watch the lecture videos and read the lectures. Do the 2 discussions. Study for the exam and take the exam. And then you can do the 5-point Twitch extra credit. I know it says it's worth 0, but it's it's 5 out of 0 or 0 out of 5, 5 out of 0. So you can get up to 5 points, but technically it doesn't count against you. So it's worth 0 points if you were to just go ahead and not do that. So you don't need to do the extra credits. They are completely optional, but I do think that they help quite a bit with taking some of that pressure off of your grade. Okay. So I think those are all the big things. The only other thing I can think to say is that your grades are right here. So you can always keep track of your scores. You can see how you did on every single item. Again, if you have not taken the mandatory orientation quiz and you don't want to be dropped tonight, make sure that you email me immediately when we're done here with our live stream. If you're confused ever or you're struggling, email me. I'm here. I check my email a lot. So please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. This class moves very quickly and it's a lot of information. It's basically a month within a week time frame because it's so condensed. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Yep, we're at the end here. If you need to go, that's totally fine. And again, you can always watch these later on Twitch or YouTube if you missed anything or your internet cut out or whatever. So any other questions, comments, thoughts, anything at all before we call it a night? Of course, thank you for all of you joining me. I'm not really much of a gamer. I mean, I have a Nintendo Switch and a Wii. That gives you an indication of my games. I have 3 little girls, and so we play lots of games like Mario and like Mario Kart and some of those kind of things, but nothing of like the popular games. Not anything like that. Okay. You're welcome. Thank you all for being on here. That's the last thing. Let me put that in the comments here. Our next Twitch live stream will be next Wednesday. Be on Wednesday at 8 o'clock, and that one should be a little bit shorter because we will just need to cover the materials. I'll give you some feedback on this week, and I'll give you the reminders from next week. So that one will be definitely shorter. This one was probably the longest that we'll do, but I wanted to make sure you were feeling okay. And now we can go watch Shark Week. Anyone else watching Shark Week this week on Discovery? That's been kind of fun. We've been watching it for like a week and a half already because we've been streaming it on the app, and my partner's a huge shark fan, so we've been watching a lot of Shark Week stuff. I don't know if any of you are watching that as well, but it's kind of fun. Yep. We watched one, there's one that we watched called The Laws of Jaws, and that one was kind of fun, going over like little experiments. It's kind of a fun psychological tie-in as well, looking at shark attacks and can they recreate them and maybe prevent them. Really interesting. There's so many fun things for Shark Week for sure. And then we have the Olympics coming up. So many things for us to watch, which is nice. So. All right. So what I will do, typically at the end, I'll hang out for a little bit to see if there are any questions. If you have any, feel free to put them in the chat. Typically, I'll minimize my video just and hang out for about 10 minutes or so. Of course, you can email me if you think of something else, but I hope we have a wonderful, quick little class together, and please feel free to reach out at any time if you're struggling. I'll do whatever I can to help. I'm here for you if you need me. So I'm going to minimize my video, and I'll hang out for for a few minutes if there are any questions. So if you have anything, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, have a wonderful, thank you you too. Have a wonderful night, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock for our Twitch number 2 live stream next week. right, everyone, it doesn't seem like there are any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. But of course, if you think of something, feel free to email me throughout the week. I am here. Otherwise, have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Rolly says goodbye as well. He's still sitting here with me.